أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد. Respected scholars, elders, brothers, sisters, youngsters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I thank the organizers for having given me this opportunity to speak here, but I strongly feel it's a very heavy chair. I've always mentioned this. I'm not a scholar. I'm used to seeing scholars like Sheikh Saqi al-Ashfar, Sheikh Leghai. So I would always prefer being on the other side of the hall. But since I'm here now, so I'm not sitting here as a scholar. I'm far from it. But what I intend to do is just share something with you that I found interesting, something that has a potential to change my life. Hopefully it will change our lives too. It's from this book, which I'll be mentioning later on. But the whole idea is to share some ideas from this book. And in the process, what will happen is I will be able to understand the book better. And this will be a motivation now for me to act. Because if I don't act on it, it will be the heights of hypocrisy, telling you and not practicing it myself. And inshallah, if you find it useful, you can also take some ideas from here. So I'm not here as a preacher or as an alim, but just here to share a few ideas, inshallah, on this Thursday night. These ideas will be useful. So the topic of discussion is the purpose of our lives. Why is it that God has created us? And why are we living in this world? For this short time that we're here, 60, 70 years, what's the purpose? So I take inspiration from Sheikh Saqi al-Ashfar. He's mentioned it so many times whenever he's lectured, that our main purpose in life is to manifest the names of Allah, the divine attributes of Allah. So for example, if I'm a doctor and I'm treating a patient, I should always have it in mind that I'm manifesting the name of Ya Shafi'u, the healer. So I'm manifesting his name and in the process bring about healing in my patient. Only then does it make my work useful or fruitful, and only then will I be fulfilling the purpose of Allah, of my creation. So if I'm just treating a patient there for the sake of money, for the sake of fame, for the sake of popularity, then I'm not serving the purpose. The whole idea is to manifest that name of Allah, Ya Shafi'u, and in the process bring about healing. Similarly, when we're feeding kids at home, for example, so we're manifesting the name of Ya Razzaq, we are feeding the child. Or when a woman, the mothers and our wives give birth at home and nourish the child, they're manifesting the name of Ya Rabb, Rububiyyah of Allah. So they're manifesting that name of Allah. So the Ahlul Bayt have manifested the names of Allah to the highest level. And that is why they have reached the stage where they have reached, the highest status possible. Because they were successful in manifesting the divine names of Allah. So there's one name of Allah which is Ya Kareem. And we'll talk about the meaning, but it's our duty to manifest this name of Allah. It's a very important name. So Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli has talked about this particular name, Kareem, Ya Kareem, and he gave a series of 11 lectures as to how to manifest this name in our lives. And these lectures were put in the form of a book, which is Nobility in the Holy Quran, translated by Brother Shiraz Agha and translated by Brother Rizwan Rashid, who was also here, and he addressed this audience some time back. A brilliant work. I think they've done an excellent work of translating these lectures and putting it in the form of a book. And there's so much to learn. Every page in this book is a gem. It's a treasure. So what I've tried to do is just take a few notes from here and there from the introduction part and from the first session, just to give us an introduction, just to motivate us and to give us this idea as to what this Kareem is. So Kareem comes from the word Karama. Karama, which is loosely translated in English as generosity. Kareem, generosity. In this book, they've translated it as nobility or magnanimity, magnanimous, or being noble. What Ayatollah Jawad Amuli says, it's a word that this karama does not have a proper translation in any other language. It's a uniquely Arabic word, and the correct meaning can only be understood in Arabic. But you can use so many words to loosely translate it, just to get the gist. So if you open the dictionary, being noble in character, kindness, generous, altruistic, generosity, forgiving, these are all come under karama. So as I said, it comes from the name of Allah, Ya Kareem. And the beauty about this book is it doesn't talk about the karam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What it does is it says, how can we manifest this name in our own souls and become better people? And Ayatollah Jawad Amuli says, this is the purpose of our lives, to manifest this name of Allah, and we'll see why. So our purpose in life is to be noble, to be honorable, to manifest this name of Allah, of Ya Kareem. So the stage has been set, and this is how he proves it, that why is this our purpose in our lives? Become noble or honorable, or to manifest this particular name of Allah. So he says the stage has been set because Allah introduces himself as Kareem. So from the Quran, for example, chapter 82, verse number 6. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الإنسان ما غرك بربك الكريم. O mankind, what has deceived you concerning your Lord, the generous? So coincidentally, for those of you who came for Dhuhr prayers today, the Quranic verses that scroll, and I was preparing this in the morning, when I go to the mosque, the same surah was playing on the screen. The same surah was going on. So, Ya ayyuhal insanu ma gharraka bi rabbika al-kareem. Rabbika al-kareem. God introduces himself as Kareem, noble. Again, chapter 96, Surah Iqra, which is the first surah. Iqra wa rabbukal akram. Again, it's the same word. Recite, and your Lord is the most noble. Rabbukal akram. Tabarak asmu rabbika dhil jalali wal ikram. The surah that was just recited, Surah Rahman. Tabarak asmu rabbika dhil jalali wal ikram. The surah ends. So God introduces himself as Jalali wal ikram, noble again. So these are few examples. So Allah is Kareem. Not only that, but the book that he sent, the Holy Quran, is also Kareem. So Surah Waqiyah, Thursday night, coincidentally, is the night where it's recommended to recite this surah. Chapter 56. Innahu la Qur'anun Kareem. So God says this book is full of nobility. This book is noble. I am noble, and the book that I've sent is also noble. So he's setting the stage now. Number 3, وَقَالُوا اتَّخَذَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَلَدًا سُبْحَانَهُ بَلْ عِبَادٌ مُكْرَمُونَ, sorry. So he's talking about the angels. So the angels who brought down the book are also Kareem. So they're not only messengers. You know, we have messengers in the office. And whenever we give them a parcel or a message to send somewhere else, they don't necessarily have to open that envelope. Just take the envelope from here to there, get the dispatch book signed, and bring it back. They don't have to know the message. Or if you ask them to send a message somewhere, they can claim the message, just deliver the message, but they don't have to understand it. But in Allah's case, He says, no, I'm Kareem. This book is Kareem. The angels are also Kareem. So it's not only that they have to bring the book. Jibreel himself, he brought down the book, but before that, he had to become Kareem himself before he brought it down to the Prophet. So he is not a normal messenger. He had to read the book, understand the book, become Kareem himself. Only then did he qualify to become the messenger of Allah, to bring down the book. So Allah is Kareem, the book is Kareem, the angels who brought down the book are also Kareem. So he's setting up the stage now. Or elsewhere he says, Kiraman Katibin, the angels who sit and record our deeds, Kiraman Katibin, they are also Kareem. They are also noble. They don't make mistakes, they don't sin, they don't forget, and they don't miss out. They're very noble. Kiraman Katibin. So that's number 4. Number 3, sorry. Number 4, chapter 81, verse number 19. Innahu laqawlun rasulin kareem. The Prophet, Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadan wa ali Muhammad. He is also Kareem. And he says that I was sent to perfect Karama. That was his purpose in life. So he was Kareem himself, but he was brought in to perfect this trait of Karama amongst the human beings. So that's number 4. Number 5, the month in which the Quran was revealed, Ramadan, Kareem. The month also becomes Kareem now. In fact, Rajab, next few days we are going to enter the month of Rajab. So Rajabul Mukarram, the other name for Rajab is Rajabul Mukarram. That's also noble month. So these 2 months are also noble. So now, just to summarize, God is Kareem, His book is Kareem, the angels who brought it down are Kareem, it was revealed on a prophet who was Kareem, in the month that was Kareem. So the teacher is ready, the textbook is ready, the environment is ready, the syllabus is ready. Now it's upon the human being now to understand this syllabus and implement it. Learn. He should be admitted into this school, learn and practice Quran. But no, God doesn't leave you like this. He gives us a small capital to start off with. He doesn't say start from scratch. He says no. In chapter 17, verse number 70, he says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. And we have certainly ennobled the children of Adam. That means there's already nobility within us. A small capital has already been given to us. Now it's our duty to develop that capital. In fact, it's our fitrah. It's within our fitrah. It's our innate nature to be noble. So the purpose of our lives is to polish ourselves, to use up this capital and make it grow. And there is no limit to nobility. There is no limit to karama. We just have to develop this trait to the highest level. So there are people who do it very well, and there are some people who just forget it and go the other way. And after this, once we have become noble, the 12th Holy Imam in Dua Iftitah, in the holy month of Ramadan, he teaches us to ask for something. What do we ask for? Allahumma inna narghabu ilayka fi dawlatin karima. O Allah, we earnestly desire from you a noble state. But you can't have a noble state if we are not noble ourselves. You can't have a dawlatin karima if the people are not kareem themselves. So when we ask for a noble state, it's our duty that before we do that, we have to make sure that we are kareem. Our families are kareem, our community is kareem, our nation is kareem. Only then can you have a dawlatin karima. So now the question is, what is karama? So we loosely translate it as generosity, nobility, magnanimity. Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli translates it as, it is the elevated soul that is free from all baseness and vileness. There is no evil trait in that soul. When we recite, Allahumma tahhir qalbi min an-nifaq. So it's a soul that doesn't have any trace of evilness or baseness, lowliness. So very interesting here. He says that when you want to understand something, you can understand the word. But sometimes if you understand the opposite of it, you'll understand it better. So he says the opposite of karama is danawa, baseness. So it is not generosity, because the opposite of generosity is stinginess. But he says, no, the opposite of karama is danawa, and the opposite of kareem is dani, baseness. So you have nobility and you have baseness. So the word dunya comes from the word dani. So dunya is a place of baseness. Dunya is referred to as a base place, a lowly place. So a person who is really attached to the dunya will not be able to attain or polish himself to bring about this quality of karama within himself, attachment to this world. So we all have karama within us. We need to nurture it. So he says, before you do anything, he says there are some things you will have to avoid. In this school, if you want to qualify to enter this school and study this syllabus, there are a few things you'll have to avoid. He mentions two things. He says you will not qualify to enter this school if you do these two things. So avoid them. Number one, he says avoid rebelliousness. Don't be a rebel in front of Allah. So total submission to Allah. Don't be rebellious. Kalla innal insana layatgha. No, but indeed man transgresses, man becomes rebellious. An ra'ahu istaghna, because he sees himself as self-sufficient. When you feel yourself free of the need of Allah, you become rebellious. At this point, before I mention the second point, I remember Marhum Sheikh Mahmoud Daya, may Allah bless his soul, a scholar that we lost very recently. So one of the few, he made a few videos, but the last one that he made, small clips, and he was talking about the subul and the sirat. So sirat is the sirat al-mustaqim, and the subul, the tributaries. So he says the prayers and the du'as that we recite are all tributaries. But what is sirat al-mustaqim? He says it is total submission to Allah. Not only Allah, but the hierarchy that Allah has set, the vertical hierarchy. So you have Allah, you have the Holy Prophet, you have the Aimma alayhi salam, and the absence of the 12th Imam, you have the Mujtahideen and the Ulamas. So he says submission to the truth. If they are the specialists and they have studied religion, submit. Just like we submit to the doctor when we go to the doctor, because he's the specialist in his field. When it comes to spiritual ideas, spiritual themes, they are the specialists. So study and submit. So don't be rebellious. Don't rebel against them. One. The second thing which disqualifies us from this school of Karama is the dunya, worldly pursuits. So now the question is, what is this dunya? Is it the skies and the trees and the earth and the sea? Is this what God is talking about? No. These are subservient servants of Allah who have submitted themselves. The trees and the mountains. This is the Quranic message. So what is this dunya that we have to be careful about? What are the qualities of this dunya? So this has been mentioned in chapter 57, verse number 20. It says, "I'lamu, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I'lamu annama al-hayatud dunya." There are 5 qualities that have been mentioned. La'ibun, wa lahun, wa zinatun, wa tafakhuru bainakum, wa takathurun fil amwali wal awlad. Know that the life of this world is but amusement and diversion, and adornment and boasting to one another, and competition in increase of wealth and children. The 5 qualities. So Sheikh Bahai says, these are the stages of our lives. When we are children, we are more into la'ib and lahu. We are more into play and vain things. Sometimes these traits don't leave us. Till the age of 40, my age, till the age of 50, we're still indulged, we're still kids. If you're wasting times in la'ib and lahu. Then he says, when we reach a stage whereby we start earning our own wealth, become independent, we get into zina, glitter. The moment we see wealth, we try to show off our wealth. And then there comes a time when we do tafakhur, fakhr. We are proud now. See, I have this. So there's a time you're just showing off, but now you say, oh, you don't have it, I have it. Fakhr. And then you reach a stage whereby you're old, you don't have the capacity to do anything now. Lahu, laib, there's no zina, you can't do fakhr. So what do? You sit and count. You count your wealth, you count your children. So it's called takathur. So these are the 5 qualities of the dunya that we have to stay away from. Stay away from lahu, laib, zina, tafakhur, and takathur. If we indulge in these 5 qualities, along with rebelliousness, we do not qualify for the school of karama. And if we don't, we will fail in our purpose in this life. So these are the things to avoid. What is it that we have to do to attain karama? So the Surah Hujurat, and he mentions this verse. He says, Ya ayyuhan nas, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha, wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qabaila lita'arafu. Inna akramakum, karim now. Inna akramakum inda Allahi atqakum. Inna Allaha alimun khabir. O mankind, indeed we have created you from male and female. So it's not, karama does not depend on you being a male or a female, and made you peoples and tribes. Not a specific nation can progress, but this is just for that you may know each other. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the one who has taqwa. So the criteria here is taqwa. You can't become noble, you can't become kareem if you don't have taqwa. It's impossible. You could be the most respected person in your country, and people might consider you to be honorable, but if you don't have taqwa, in the eyes of Allah, you are nothing. The criteria for karama is taqwa. In akramakum indallahi atqakum. But for taqwa, you just don't attain taqwa like this. For taqwa, you need to work. You need to have action. Not only action, but you perform that action with ma'rifah. So the Quran terms it as ilm and amalus salihat. There's ilm and there's amal. When you have knowledge and ma'rifah and you perform a deed, only then do you get taqwa. The more deeds that you perform with ma'rifah, it increases your taqwa. So taqwa is not inherited. We have to work for it. So the verse of the Quran, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامَ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. If you want to get taqwa, you have to fast first. Show some action with ma'rifah, only then do you get taqwa. So it's one thing that fuels the other. Okay? So we have set the stage now. Allow me to summarize. So Allah is Kareem. His book is Kareem. The angels who brought it down are Kareem. It was revealed on a prophet who is Kareem. In the month that is also Kareem, it is upon man to become Kareem so that he can have a dawlat in Kareema. The criteria for karama is we have to be submissive to Allah, one. And secondly, these 5 traits that we mentioned, we have to stay away from these 5 traits. Only then do we qualify. Once we've done that, then we have to attain taqwa. Taqwa is not only a word, but it's an action. We have to perform an action, but with ma'rifah. So it's ilm and amalus salihat. So hope it's clear till now. So the characteristics of the Kareem. So I have chosen, these are hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam, mentioned in this book. And I tried to choose 10 just to assess ourselves as to whether we have reached, where have we reached, whether are we Kareem or not, or is there some work to be done. Inshallah, if we have these characteristics, then there is no limit to karama. For the rest of our lives, we need to increase it. But if we have none of these characteristics, then it's time to start working. So number 1, the hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, the noble person is the one whose act of giving precedes the act of being asked. You have this habit of giving even before being asked. I don't have this habit. I would always wait for somebody to ask first, see the need, and then give. But he says, no, karama means you have this habit of giving even before you are asked. Do we have this? Inshallah. Number 2, nobility is the result of sublime ambition. We have to be ambitious. We have to have the proper niyyah, the intention. What are our intentions? Are we self-centered or are we God-centered? So sublime ambition. What ambitions are we setting for ourselves? So a noble person will always have very high ambitions. Number 3, calamities do not affect the noble one. The person who has become Kareem, calamities in life don't affect him. He just takes it as an imtihan. In fact, he does shukr. Oh Allah, you've given me your personalized attention. It is not going to tire me, it's not going to break me. At least I can communicate with you closely. You have attention on me. Calamities will not affect the one who has karama, the Kareem. Number 4, the noble person will steer clear from that which has been prohibited. He'll always stay away from haram and keep himself free from the defects of the soul. He will stay away from haram and anything that is defective to his soul, he will have the power to stay away from it. So if you are really Kareem, we should be able to do this. This is the hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Number 5, noble person is kept away from that which the base person prides himself with. There's so many people around us who take pride in their possessions, in their power, and they like the attention that is given to them. They are very boastful. A noble person is kept away from that. Automatically, he would not like to be popular, but he'll always be humble, he'll be hidden. He will prefer being anonymous, and he's protected that way. Okay? Number 6, a noble person is happy with God and has his refuge with him. He's always happy with what God gives him. And he's always in the refuge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is loved by the people and is the object of their reverence. People love this person and people always admire him. This is from the hadith. So if you really have karama, we are always with Allah, God protects us, we are always in his refuge, and people always will love us. People will revere us if we have karama. This is a very interesting hadith, number 7. And the Arabic was very sweet, but with respect of time, I will not go into the Arabic. It says, the noble person protects his honor with his wealth, while the base one protects his wealth with his honor. I will repeat. The noble person protects his honor with his wealth, while the base one protects his wealth with his honor. So a noble person, one who is Kareem, honor will always be supreme. Sometimes wealth will come, sometimes he won't take unnecessary wealth if he's going to be degraded, if he's going to lose his honor. But the base one will do everything, even lose his honor, as long as his wealth is protected. There should be no decrease in his wealth. That's the base person, a dunyawi person. But a noble person will always protect his honor. Number 8, if nobility doesn't become basis for someone, then dishonor will. It's our fitrah to be noble. If we don't work on it, we are going to be dishonored. Definitely, we are going to be dhaleel in this world. Because God has given us everything. He is the teacher, the book, the angels, the prophet, the month, and He's given it as as a capital. If we still don't use it, we're definitely going to be dishonored. This is a hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Number 9, he whose soul becomes noble, the entire world becomes so small in his eyes. The world will be very small in his eyes. He will not give much importance to this world. And number 10, this is a verse of the Holy Quran, again from Surah Rahman that was recited. كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ ذُو الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ. Everyone upon this earth will perish, and there will remain the face of your Lord, honor of majesty and honor. If Allah is Kareem, those who become Kareem will also be eternal. People will not forget them. They will die, but they will always remain eternal. So eternity. So these are 10 hadith, the effects of Kareem. If you do attain this, if we do fulfill this purpose in our lives, then these are the effects. So the whole purpose of mentioning this is now we want to see whom can we follow as a role model. In our times, yes, we have the Ahlul Bayt who are Kareem to the highest level. Yes, we can study their lives. But sometimes it's easier to identify a person amongst us or in our times. Look at this person, study his life, and if he has these 10 characteristics, try to be like him, emulate him. So I have 2 people in mind, person that we know very well, and they can be examples for us. One is Marhum Sheikh Abdullahi Nasser. We lost him in this month. And it's a big loss for our community. This man, the amount of work that he's done. And if you see these 10 criteria, he never waited for people to come and ask. But the books that he wrote, even without being asked, he gave back to the society. His intention was very sublime. He had a very high intention. Calamities did not affect him. Yes, he was sick. He faced challenges. There were some assassination attempts on him. If you read his life history, it did not affect him a bit. Nobody has seen a fault in him. At least I haven't. I've never seen him saying a wrong word. All the speeches that I've heard, never has he uttered a wrong word. Never has he hurt anybody. Perfect speech. Amazing. He was always protected by Allah, and he was loved by people. The love for him, as in when he came down to Dar es Salaam, amazing. People would just gravitate around him. He always protected his honor. Simple man, not wealthy. I always remember him wearing his simple kanzu and his lungi. I've never seen him in any other dress. But what an honorable person. He didn't get swayed. If he wanted, he would have made a lot of money. But no, he protected his honor, giving up wealth. He worked on his nobility, and there was no dalala in his life. He was honored. And I feel the world was very small in his eyes. He did not give importance to this world. You look at his lifestyle, he did not. And of course, he's going to be eternal. That's for sure. Nobody is going to forget Sheikh Abdullahi Nasser. Yes, he's not with us, but he's going to be eternal. So he's number one. Number two is Shaheed Qasim Soleimani. I want to use him as an example. We commemorated his Shahada on the 3rd of January. So he can also be a role model. If you see these 10 qualities, each, you see the stories in his life. He gave his life to protect. Just now, the letter that he wrote to his daughter, and the wordings that have been mentioned. He says, I asked Allah to fill every part of my body and the veins in my body with His love and nobody else. He says, I gave my life. I did not sleep so that the orphan who was scared should be able to sleep. He was not asked for this, but he gave even before being asked. So many calamities. This man was simple, a construction worker. He joined the resistance, one of the very few first people to rejoin the resistance. And he lived through the war and through these trying times. So many calamities. If you see his hand, he was disabled, but that did not break his heart or his will. If you see his intention, sublime ambition. And to him, honor was everything. He would have been the richest person if he wanted. If he was money-minded, he would have made a lot of money. But honor was important for him. Not his honor, but the honor of Islam. He says, I fought for the Muslims, the oppressed Muslims. And of course, the love of people for him. He himself asked for Allah, but see the love that people had. In his funeral, millions of people came out for his funeral. I happened to be there during that time. Amazing. Nobody expected so many people to turn out. The world was very small in his eyes. He always yearned for martyrdom. He did not want to live in this world. He was away from these characteristics of this dunya. And of course, he's going to be ever eternal. Yes, he's martyred, but nobody is going to forget him, especially the oppressed. We might forget him, but the oppressed, there's some nation that is going to commemorate or celebrate this personality. So these two personalities, Sheikh Abdullah Nasser, who was amongst us, and Haji Qasim, Shahid Qasim Suleimani, these two people, we hear so much about them. It's a chance for us to see them, study their lives, see what we can learn, and see the teachings of Ayatollah Jawad Amuli from the Quran, and see if we can learn karama from them and implement it in our lives. Make it the purpose of our lives. We have it within us. We need to work on it. Everything is set. And if we die without having fulfilled this purpose, we'll truly be will be considered to be neglectful. The other names of Allah, for example, I said, Ya Shafi, not everybody can become a doctor. Not everybody can become a Rabb. Men, we don't have that much of a capacity. Women have more of a capacity. So there are some names which are masculine, some names which are feminine. But this is one word, this is one name of Allah which we can work on. And Ayatollah Jawad Amuli says, it is the purpose of our lives. Karama. Become Kareem, become noble, become honorable, become a true human. A true insan is the one who is honorable, who is Kareem, inshallah. May Allah give us the tawfiq to be able to understand what has been taught by Allah, His Prophet, and the ulamas. May He give us the capacity and the tawfiq to be able to study these characters that we mentioned. Shahid Qasim Suleimani and Sheikh Abdullah Nasser, people very close, people who have lived in our times. May Allah enable us to learn something from them and improve our lives. We are entering the month of Rajabul Mukarram, and then Ramadan Kareem, inshallah. In these holy months, whereby we'll be reading the holy book, may Allah give us the capacity to become Kareem, inshallah. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati ma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursaleen, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.